One is a corner that showed up this offseason. I don't know. I don't know what the expectations even were for Brandon Eckles when he walked in the door. I don't think anybody knew who he was, to be totally honest. People thought he'd play the inside and replace Beanie Bishop. That didn't seem to be the case. Now he's an outside guy, kind of fell under the radar. The Pittsburgh Steelers went out. They got Darius Slay. They went out. They got Jalen Ramsey. Now the news is, the expectation is that Ramsey's going to play on the outside and maybe not safety. And we're going to see what happens come training camp. But where we stand today, there is some uncertainty at the corner position. Fansided's Cody Williams says that Brandon Eckles, a guy who signed a $6 million deal this offseason, may be on his way out. Quote, "It's getting more difficult by the day to see how Eckles fits into the mix at all with the Steelers. See, some combination of Slay, Porter Jr., and Ramsey are expected to start on the outside and in the slot corner. Meanwhile, Beanie Bishop Jr. and James Pierre have the experience in Pittsburgh that gives them some sort of edge as backups, the same of which is somewhat true for Cory Trice Jr. That puts Eckles in a position to battle with those 3 and 7th round rookie Dante Kent for spots in the depth chart." I will be very honest, okay? The moment I read this, I said, this is the worst reasoning for Brandon Eckles to be a potential cut candidate. And it makes absolutely, first off, no sense. That's where I was going with that. First off, in what world do we head into training camp with James Pierre having an edge over Cory Trice Jr.? In what world does that happen? Like, how did that? No. The answer is no. Beanie Bishop being like the top tier number 1 dog still doesn't compute. You got Dante Kent, who's a draft pick, so there's a slight edge, and he's got to, earn it, obviously, but he's got kick return potential, and the Steelers already got a gear out of Beanie Bishop, which means that Dante Kent's the new flashy toy that they're amused by. Cory Trice, yes, I understand that one. You usually keep 5 corners at least. And if the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking at going, they got their big 3 in Joey Porter Jr., Jalen Ramsey, and Darius Slay, you're keeping at least 2 more. Chances are 3. Maybe he doesn't beat out a Cory Trice. Maybe he doesn't beat out a Beanie Bishop or a Dante Kent. Maybe somebody surprises. But a 5-year-old in the NFL who's got experience, who's got starting experience, who comes in here over a 7th round pick who hasn't been healthy, and an undrafted guy who got benched last year. I just don't think that he's the bottom of the barrel cut candidate when you look at the Steelers cornerback room. Do you disagree?
No, I don't. I think Brandon Eckles is a cut candidate. I think that is a perfectly fine sort of point to make and prediction to give. This is where, like, we talked about this in other situations where, like, the farther removed you are, like, from a national side, like the same way that I cannot tell you the competition battles that are going to ensue at certain NFL camps in a couple weeks here, is the same way that, like, some people just completely miss on certain positional battles when they are not around. Like, and kudos to, like, the local people who are covering this stuff, who have a little bit maybe of a more realistic grasp on what the locker room is kind of like, because again, Brandon Eckles is certainly a cut candidate. He doesn't have a guaranteed roster spot.
Yeah.
Is it because this team trusts James Pierre and Beanie Bishop in a legitimate way? No. That's not even close to it. It's because they don't have a clue who they trust in the secondary, aside from the big 3. So it's a complete competition. I think Cory Trice is, a pretty slam dunk choice to be on this roster. I think the Steelers love what he does, and I think it's hard not to, and especially whenever he keeps getting removed from opportunities due to injury, it's hard to not want to keep seeing what there is there and if there's more room to grow. So I could see Trice beating Eckles out, and that being why he doesn't get a roster spot. I don't think it's going to be because Beanie Bishop and James Pierre just have a stranglehold on positions in the 53-man roster. I think James Pierre is like a great special teams player.
Fantastic.
He does nothing when he's in a larger role. It is just, he's shown that time and time again that even as an injury replacement, he becomes a liability on the field aside from when he is like a gunner on special teams or on the kickoff return or something like that. So yeah, I like this idea that there is and agree with this idea that there is a huge competition, a very open competition in the secondary,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
for those supporting roles. I think Eckles has a great chance of securing one and also a great chance of being cut. And it's not because of anyone else on this roster right now that he's battling for. That's my only criticism.
I agree. I think the only guy that the Steelers look at and say, we really want you to make this roster. Like, we really want you to be that guy. And that gives him a pretty significant advantage over the pack is Cory Trice. But the moment Cory Trice gets injured again, Cory Trice is gone. And the Steelers are going to run out of patience. But Beanie's got no hold on it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have went out and got Jalen. Otherwise, they wouldn't have went out and got Cam Sutton and then benched him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have went out and got Dante Kent. Dante Kent is a 7th-round pick, dude. Anything could happen. You know what I mean? He's the easiest guy to put on your practice squad. The easiest guy to put on your practice squad. Same with guys like Beanie Bishop. So I look at James Pierre's here because James Pierre showed up halfway through last season after not making the team, or not making the team, but not getting a contract in the offseason, going to Washington, not making that team, coming back to Pittsburgh because they were desperate, and then going somewhere else. And you know, I don't look at his example again. Maybe Brandon Eckles is on his way out, but they didn't bring in Brandon Eckles for nothing. You know what I mean? They didn't. They look at Brandon Eckles as a guy that's a more reliable option than the guys that they had on their roster. Otherwise, they wouldn't have signed him. And that's, to me, gives him, he's that 2B. He's that Cory Trice. Then it's Brandon Eckles in my head, and then there's the rest of the pack. Do you feel you feel different? You feel the same?
No, I think I feel exactly the same. I would really, I think if I had to pick my 5 right now, it would be, Jalen, JPJ, Darius Slay, Cory Trice, and probably Brandon Eckles if I had to pick 5.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like James Pierre does nothing for me,
No,
like I
no,
can
no.
take or leave
No,
him. Like, again, like if special teams is the big old concern, like you have this 7th-round pick in Dante Kent who has unreal athleticism. How good of a tackler is he on special teams? I don't know right now, but like he could probably develop into it. Danny Smith is a wizard. So I would be fine with that. It's not a real loss if you don't have James Pierre on the 53-man roster. I hold out some slight hope for Beanie Bishop just because he showed those flashes, that 2 interception game against Aaron Rodgers might not mean a lot after he gets benched, but that's enough to build a reputation around the league for being someone who can create turnovers. And look at our buddy from Fansided who just said that he has a great shot to be on the roster because of that. When in our point of view, from our perspective, he is a bubble player at best. So, I think both of those players you could lose and not suffer huge losses in the secondary. Productivity will not go down in the secondary either, in my opinion. So yeah, I think that 5, including Trice and Eckles, makes a ton more sense and fits the sort of overall theme of having like tall, rangy cornerbacks and having guys who can maybe fill out different roles. But I think I would prefer that over Pierre and Bishop.
Yes. And again, you could put guys, Dante Kent is an easy practice squad guy to put on there and say, this is good enough. Beanie's probably the same way. And James Pierre is easily the same way. So you don't have to go out and worry about these guys. Whereas in Brandon Eckles, you let go of, you move on from. And I think that's the biggest thing here. Plus, he's got inside capabilities. It just makes more sense.